As most of you know, before this year, I had been a proponent of keeping the playoff at 4 or minimizing the playoff, trying to retain the normalcy of college football and the importance of the regular season. But it's been pretty clear to me this year that we do need to expand, mainly for 2 reasons. The first being, although not the best reason, but the first being that we need more revenue in college football to distribute across to these programs because of the revenue that was lost due to the COVID-19 pandemic. I think that's going to be important. There is a money tree in college football. That money tree is an expanded playoff. We can distribute more money and retain some of those ancillary programs that are not college football and help for funding for those scholarship opportunities. The second reason I think that we need to expand college football is that we have consolidated all the meaning and importance and the success in the sport up to the very, very top. And because of that, you're seeing so many more players opt out. You're seeing teams opt out of bowl games. And I think that we need to allow more teams around the country the opportunity to define success for themselves, because right now, nothing defines success outside of the playoffs. So what you see is the same teams perpetually every single year go to the playoff because they're the only ones that can go into a recruit's home and say, hey, you can come here and go to the playoff and win a playoff game. In fact, the 6 teams in the country that have won playoff games in the history of the playoff went 1 through 6 in the 2021 recruiting rankings. So we're going to get this perpetual cycle. We need to expand that. We need to expand the meaning, the success, and the definition of success to larger amounts of teams throughout college football. So because of that reason, I have come up with now some criteria and then a couple of different options for expansion. First and foremost, here's some changes to rules that I think that we're going to need in college football in order to make it better. Number one, we need to remove divisions within conferences, put the top 2 teams in each conference in the conference championship game. I think that's an important one. I think every conference should play a minimum of 9 conference games. I think you saw the benefit of that in the SEC this year when they played 10 games. I think that every single team in the country that's a Power 5 team should not only play 9 conference games, they should play 1 Power 5 non-conference game. So a minimum of 10 Power 5 matchups during the course of the season. I'm going to, in every one of these scenarios, give automatic bids to every single Power 5 champion, conference champ, and the best group of 5 champion. That is an automatic bid for that group of 5 team into the playoff. Now, as far as independents go, Notre Dame, all they have to do is be in the top rankings, and you'll see that in a moment, and have a maximum of 2 losses. If you are a team that does not play 10 Power 5 opponents like BYU, you would have to be the top-ranked group of 5 team in the country to be included. So in this iteration that I'm going to go show you, they would actually not be involved in this playoff. And then the fifth thing is I think we need to remove the current committee structure and go back to a more BCS model of ranking teams. So for the sake of this argument and these models, I'm actually going to use BCS-style rankings for these 3 models. There's going to be 3 ways I'm going to do this, folks. Here's a 16-team, a 14-team, and a 10-team playoff model. I think any of these have pluses and minuses. Let's start with 16. This is what a 16-team playoff would have looked like this year in my model. You've got 1 Alabama. These, by the way, the first round is hosted on campus. So Alabama, you've got Texas A&M, Clemson, Notre Dame, Oregon, Ohio State, Oklahoma, and Cincinnati would all host games. And it's important to note that in my seeding, the 6 champions, the 5 Power 5, and the 1 group of 5 get the top 6 seeds. So they would be hosting a game. That's one of the benefits of winning the conference championship game. So you're retaining some meaning within that conference championship game, and then you play it out from there. I think that the second round would stay on campus, and then as you go into that semifinal round, you can go back to the bowl sites as you currently do, and then a national championship game that floats around similar to the Super Bowl. So that's a 16-team playoff. Let's look at some other models, though, and I was trying to figure out a way. How do we reward teams that really play great, the best teams in the country? Well, here's a 14-team playoff model. We're getting 14 teams in the NFL right now. This is the same type of a model where the first 2 teams, the top 2 teams in the country, get a bye into the second round. You're still seeding them exactly as I did in the prior rounds, where the conference championships get the champions, get the top 6 seeds. And then obviously you've got a few at-large teams that are there getting in, again, based on BCS style of rankings. The first round and the second round are played on campus at the higher seed. And then we're going to those bowl sites and then a national championship game that floats around just like the Super Bowl. So that's what it would look like in a 14-team model this season. And then here's an interesting one that you could expand off an 18-team playoff. I don't think that we should just do 8 teams, because after you get the automatic first, There are just not enough at-large spots. So to me, this is how you would do an 8-team playoff. I would call it a 10. It would be a play-in. So you've got your 6 conference champions, the 5 Power Fives, and the best group of 5. And then you have the 4 at-large teams that are left, the 4 best teams left, play in order to play the top 2 seeds. So that would be my 10-team playoff model. Again, I'm not a fan of 8 because I think we would still be consolidating the meaning and the progress and the substance of what it means to be a quality program too far at the top of college football. I think we need a minimum of 10. I think 14 is actually a really good model because you're rewarding the top 2 teams in the country. They get a bye. You're rewarding conference champions, and you're retaining some of the meaning of those conference championship games. Obviously, there would be a ton to vet through, and we can't do it all on this program. But there are my 3 models of what you could do moving forward for expansion, which is much needed in college football: a 16, a 14, and a 10-team model. I would love your thoughts. Tell me what you think of those models, what you think is wrong with them, and what you think is right with them. And we can maybe influence a little change in college football moving forward. Hey, thanks for watching. If you enjoy that clip, make sure you click subscribe somewhere down here. From game highlights to exclusive interviews and rankings, we've got everything you need as a college football fan right here. College football on Fox.